I'm not going to do what you think I'm going to do, which is flip out about the Astros 2-2 start. They are without Jose Altuve, Michael Brantley, and Alvarez was not in the lineup on Sunday. There are some things to worry about, but I think in the long run, they'll be fine. And we'll talk about what happened this weekend on this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast.
Alvarez, it's a high drive, center field. Beer leans back. This game is turned upside down. There's the runner, fly ball down the right field line. Tucker comes on. Kyle Tucker. This time they finish the job.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Stros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett's not going to be on the show tonight, but he'll come back tomorrow night. But it was a super fun night or a day at the ballpark. I went again, and I felt like I lived at Minmade Park and Constellation Field last week. I went to almost every game except for Saturday's game, which was the Jeremy Pena bobblehead day. But I did win one on an auction on Facebook. So I'm excited about all the baseball I got to experience. The Astros got to celebrate the 2022 season where they won the World Series. But now it's time to look forward to 2023 and play a little bit better baseball. You can't keep on stranding runners on base. We're going to talk about what happened this weekend, the goods, the bads, the uglies, and what they can improve upon. But definitely some things to look at. And this episode is brought to you by Ultimate Baseball GM. Have you ever dreamed about being a MLB GM, managing your baseball franchise? Then this game is definitely for you. To download the game, just visit ultimatebaseballgm.com or look it up on the App Store. Our listeners get 100% free boost to their franchise when they use the promo code Locked On, all caps, in the game. And definitely try it out, guys, because I know Brett's really into it. I'm trying to get into it. It just really shows how hard it is to be a GM. And definitely Dana Brown made some decisions, or maybe not Dana Brown, but Jim Crane and the Astros made decisions that are kind of hurting the Astros about not improving the depth, but it is what it is at this point. And guys, thank you for making the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Go and keep on subscribing to us. Go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, Google, wherever you listen to your podcast. Just check out the Locked On Astros podcast and tell a friend to tell a friend, and just go ahead and subscribe to us. So I know a lot of people are, and I know I went to a person to the game twice this weekend with a person, and they're not a big Jake Myers fan. And I know Mauricio Devon is not really doing much, but these guys are really there for their defense at this point. Somebody who is supposed to be hitting right now, and I know he's a notoriously slow starter, is Alex Bregman. He's 0 for 16 on the season. I'm not worried about him. He typically gets off to a slow start, but Kyle Tucker is also a notoriously slow starter, but he's doing good this year. So I think Alex Bregman, once he starts clicking, because he's batting second, this was a decision that Dusty Baker made. And so now he needs to live with it until Bregman starts hitting. I think it was the right choice putting Bregman there. It was between Kyle Tucker and Bregman. But if you're thinking about what happens when Michael Brantley comes back, I think that Dana Brown addressed this, and or Dusty Baker addressed it, somebody addressed it, and they said that he's going to Florida, and he's going to start participating in some minor league games, and they're hoping that they'll get him back in a couple of weeks, maybe by the end of April. So we could have Michael Brantley back as soon as possible. We saw him take batting practice this weekend, so that's some good things. So the Astros are missing some big pieces in the lineup, and it showed a lot this weekend. And like, how many times was there bases loaded or runners on in scoring position when Mauricio Devon came up, or Jake Myers? And it's just frustrating because, like, who can we pinch hit? And unfortunately, there's not a lot of people you could have pinch hit. I think in today's game, you had a perfect opportunity to pinch hit Dubon. I believe you could have put Alvarez in there, but the Astros chose not to do that. And they decided to stick with Dubon in that situation. And I think if you had one more runner get on base ahead of him, then maybe you would have pinch hit for Alvarez. But for those of y'all that did not hear it, there's a reason why Alvarez was not in the lineup. It's not Dusty Baker punking y'all or being like, you know what, I'm going to get all those Astros fans after Alvarez like set all these records for Astros player in the first 2 games. I'm going to go ahead and just sit him and all that. This is actual valid reason. Remember, there was some concerns about him even starting the season on time. And so I think that for him to miss the 4th game of the season when there's a chance that he could open the season on IL, I think that's a blessing. So I'm not worried about him missing 1 game out of every 4 games at this point. The only problem is you can't replace what he can do with a bat. Unfortunately, he's just too good. And it's just so depressing to see the lineup without him. And I didn't see the lineup before I went to church and then I went to the game. And when we got there today, we both looked at the lineup and we're like, no Alvarez. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Baker said that he's going to keep him out of lineup every once in a while. And it's just like, oh, well. So I think it's just something that we're going to have to deal with until Alvarez proves that he's healthy, but he looks healthy. He had that home run. He also had that 3-run double the other day. And so with the bases loaded, so he's getting the hits. He's looking like the Alvarez of old. So hopefully the hand is okay. And we see Kyle Tucker getting hits too. And the best thing about it is they're beating the shift. And they're getting these little dink hits that probably would have been an out last year. But because the shift is eliminated, I mean, I know some teams are still doing shift. They're moving the outfielders instead of the infielders. But the Astros are going to benefit so much from Kyle Tucker and Alvarez being in that situation. And I think the Astros are going to benefit a lot from that. And Kyle Tucker mentioned that, yeah, he got a hit because of the elimination of shift. They're going to get some. They're going to lose some in that situation. But overall, it should help them. So I think overall, you can't complain a lot from Alvarez and Tucker so far in the season. Alvarez Abreu has got a hit in every game. This is the first time he's done it since he was a White Sox player in 2016. So that's great that he's getting off to a hot start. That the problem is that there's not too many other players off to a hot start. I guess you could say Chas McCormick is off to a hot start, but I'm sure you heard Brett the other day. He was all complaining about McCormick not starting in the first 2 games. And in terms of why, I don't know if we got an answer as to why he didn't start the first 2 games, but Baker did say he was going to start games 3 and 4, and he showed why he should be starting. He's definitely out there getting some big hits. He had 1 hit today. He got a walk, and he has 3 stolen bases so far. But, guys, I was worried about this. People are going to get stolen bases like crazy this year, not only with the bigger bases, but you're limiting the pickoff throws. I think, I'm not saying Chas McCormick is not fast and he doesn't deserve this, but you see like Jorge Mateo, I think he is with the Orioles. He already has 4 stolen bases. You're going to see some players with 2 stolen bases every game. And you may see some players with like 60 to 80 stolen bases this year, but that's what baseball wanted. They wanted more offense. And what's the best way to get more offense? To get runners into scoring position easier. So I think that we're going to see this a lot more. And I'm not going to name the company, but you're likely every time you go to a game, you're going to get the 5 free wings from a certain company. So that's awesome as well. But guys, definitely, if you want something while you're waiting in the line for a bobblehead or something, why don't you download Ultimate Pro Baseball GM? It's the coolest game I've played in a long time. I always thought I could be a great Major League GM, maybe, But as it turns out, it's not as easy. I mean, you have to decide not only like you can't just look at your superstars, but you got to look at like what happens if Jose Altuve gets hurt in the World Baseball Classic. How are you going to replace that? And so you need to have the backup options. And you also have to look at, are players happy with their contract? Are you going to have to renegotiate the contract? Is your manager a lame duck? Is he happy? And so they take all this in consideration. And so if you fantasize about managing your own franchise, go and download Pro Baseball GM immediately. This game allows you to manage every strategic aspect of a franchise, playing through seasons and leading your franchise and fans to glory as you build your historic dynasty. In the simulation, you're responsible for hiring the right coaches, scouting and drafting players, and navigating your franchise through free agencies and the ups and downs of the season. And definitely it's a cool experience. I know Brett's competing with the Pirates guy, Ethan, and it's they're like having open competition. So go check it out. Locked On Astros listeners get 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On in the game store. So make sure you check it out. To download the game, just visit probaseballgm.com, scan the code, or look it up on the App Store. That's probaseballgm.com. Ultimate Baseball GM. Start your dynasty today. So I know a lot of people are like concerned about Mauricio Dubon and Jake Myers playing a lot. And I think that so far, if you look at the playing time, David Hensley has gotten 2 starts at second base. And then Dubon has gotten 2 starts at second base. If you look at center field, you've had McCormick get 2 starts in center field. Then you've had 2 starts from Jake Myers. Jake Myers literally did nothing in his time. But what the Astros are also trying to do is trying to get some at-bats for Corey Julks. It seemed to ignite the offense a little bit in the first 2 games. Today, he went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. So his batting average is down to 167. If you watch him play left field, you could tell that he's still trying to get used to the carom off the wall. And I remember when I was watching batting practice, it was either opening day or the exhibition game, but you can see that Michael Brantley was out there like trying to work with him and trying to get him to read that carom. And you saw the ball kind of get past him today, I believe, in that situation. So I think he's going to be fine. I think the more he plays left field, he'll be fine. But the Astros are just trying to find something to just get them by until Michael Brantley comes back. And I'll bring that up in a second. MZ says, I think a lot of us are concerned about us starting pitchers. Yes, I will start about that in a second. But if you look at what the Astros have done, they've left 23 individual runners left on base today, and then the team's left on base was 12 today. And if you look at runners in scoring position today, 3 for 14. You had a lot of runners stranded with just too many times. Key situations, Dubon would come up, Julks would come up, and Maldonado, while he did get a hit and he did walk today, I mean, he still is Martin Maldonado, and I still think that we can trust him. But at the same time, you look at the other games, and I think we can see until we get those other 2 guys back, we're going to see a lineup rotation that's going to rival what AJ Hinch did in 2015, where you had a different lineup almost every day. You had guys going up and down, and until you find something that clicks. And I know the Astros scored a lot of runs on Saturday. For the first time this season, they reached double digits with 11 hits, and they scored 6 runs. Bregman was over 5, but then you had Alvarez, Abreu, and Pena kind of lead the charge. Tucker got 2 hits as well. So they are getting hits. Yainer Diaz is still hitless on the season. Corey Julks had a hit in that game, and he got his first major league hit in Friday's game, and his first, I believe, is his first at bat and first pitch. No, I don't think it was his first pitch, but I was there to see that. That was a pretty awesome experience. And everybody's like, throw the ball back to him so he can keep that ball. But it's just awesome. And yes, I saw that the Rangers swept the Phillies. So yes, the Rangers are on top of the division now, but I'm not too worried about that long term. I think the Astros are just experiencing some growing pains because you have a lot of young players being thrust into a World Series caliber team. And this is why I've always said you don't want to count on the young players. Last year, the Astros had to count on Jeremy Pena, but you shouldn't count on Diaz to be your everyday DH. You shouldn't count on Hensley to be your second baseman, but they're in this situation for a reason. So definitely a situation. And I know Jalen says that Bregman's off to a terrible start. Yes, but I think that this is something that once he breaks out of, I don't know if it's not that he's not comfortable hitting second. I know that I was trying to maybe record a home run today of him, and so I was sitting behind home plate, and so I caught him hit a line drive foul ball, but it's home run distance, but it was way foul. But I think he's going to figure out. But until he does, the other guys in the lineup have to continue to carry the team. And once you don't have the big guy in there, Alvarez, I mean, the rest of the team, they're just a bunch of guys. I mean, Tucker is great. You have Pena, who's developing into a star leading off, even though he's went hitless today. But the first 3 games, he was getting on base and creating trouble. And in fact, he got hit in back-to-back games, which was a little bit concerning. Then he slid into second base, and it looked like he hurt his wrist there too. So there's a lot of concerns about Pena in the first few games, but overall, and it was a great series in terms of being a fan and getting the experiences. And speaking of which, for those of y'all that haven't seen the ring yet, this is the ring that they gave away to the fans. I know it's not as good as the ones they gave to the players, but it's still a pretty awesome replica. They've come a long way since 2005. For those of y'all that got the replica rings in 2005, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But this is definitely a pretty cool ring, and I can imagine that the players and the staff their rings are going to be super awesome as well. And I also got this. This is the 2002 to go with my 2017 World Series trophy there. So that's pretty cool as well. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And I like the fact that it does have Jeremy Pena on there. So I was talking about Jeremy Pena, and that kind of came out right there. But what killed the Astros in the series is the White Sox minus Jose Abreu are pretty good offensive team so far. I mean, you look at Tim Anderson, he's batting .389. If you look at Luis Roberts, he had a great game today, including a home run. I saw that home run. It was a line drive to the Crawford boxes, but he's out there making great catches. And this guy looks like a superstar. I know he's already a superstar, but he looks like a future Mike Trout once he gets more and more comfortable. But then what's really helped the White Sox in this series is Yoan Moncada. This is a guy that nobody really counted on. If you're looking at fantasy baseball, nobody drafted him. He's available in most fantasy leagues, but he's already got 2 home runs. I don't know how many doubles, but he had 2 doubles today. He's batting .444, and he's already got He's already got 4 RBIs on the season. So what Moncada is doing has absolutely crushed the Astros. And Andrew Vaughn is doing great. Yasmani Grandal is doing great. And somebody was making fun of this Colas guy. What is his first name? Oscar Colas. They said he needs to be sponsored by Coca-Cola. But he's off to a great start this season too. So it's just the White Sox they seem to hit the Astros pitching, which is going to lead us to the next part. And to kind of close out on hitters, the Astros, I know it's not fair to look at it because it's a small sample size, but typically in a regular season, the Astros are going to be at the bottom in terms of hitters strikeouts. They are number 1 in terms of strikeouts, probably after today's game, because they had another 12 strikeouts. That, if you're going to ask me, I think the hitters are going to be fine. I'm not worried about it. But if you're going to ask me what's the most concerning stat from this weekend, it's not the runners left on base. It's not anything like that. It's the fact that the Astros, I mean, granted, it's only 4 games, but they're near the top in strikeouts in baseball from hitters. So they're also near the top in strikeouts with pitchers, but they're something else is kind of going down. We'll talk about that in a second, but it's just that's a worrisome stat for a team that's good at making contact. I know you don't have Jose Altuve, you don't have Michael Brantley, but you can't strike out that much. You've got to make contact. You got to put the ball in play. When you put the ball in play, great things will happen, just like finding the great Built Bar to have. And Built March Madness is here. I think it's in the final stages of it, just like over in downtown you have the finals. I think it's tonight, but the epic game on Saturday was great. You had the buzzer beater and everything, but now it's time for you to make your choice. Go to builtmarchmadness.com to vote for your favorites. You'll be voting for whatever bar or puff. And if you want the Astros team to win the World Series, then you'll be voting for that bar too. So support that team, support your bar or puff. And when you vote for your favorite bar or puff, you'll be entered into a drawing where 50 lucky Locked On listeners will get a free box of Built. Not only that, but one Locked On fan will receive a 12-month subscription to Built to have Built's best Built bars or puffs delivered monthly straight to your door. You got to try Built. Built, the best protein bar ever. Seriously, they're so amazing. You won't have to think about how good they are for you. What makes Built bars and puffs so good? Well, for starters, they're high in protein, low in sugar, and covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. Run to builtmarchmadness.com right now to vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up a box while you're there. You can vote every day in March, so hop in and support your pick. All right. So are you going to Space Cowboys opening day? I don't think I am, unless Brett got tickets and I don't know about it, but I don't think I am. So I'm a little bit baseballed out. I might not go to a game for a little bit because I was literally at the ballpark every day last week, including practicing to hold the flag on the field. So that was a pretty cool experience. But definitely, if you're looking at the everything, Jose says that they're really close in all 4 games this series. Yeah. And I think that the White Sox are a better team than we think they are. Mike Clevenger looked like he was the old Mike Clevenger. At the same time, he looked a little wild today. I think he was effectively wild. Let me just say that. He had 8 strikeouts today. But if you look at what the Astros have done in this series, last year, the Astros were known for throwing quality pitching quality games and going 6 innings plus, saving the bullpen. And that's what made the bullpen so effective going into October. But now this year, none of the Astros have gone 6 innings. And so Luis Garcia gave up 3 runs and 7 hits and 5+ innings. Astros starters have thrown 19 innings in the 4 games, with the bullpens picking up 17 innings. Translation, you're using your bullpen a lot. In today's game, you had Phil Maton pitch 2 innings. You had Seth Martinez pitch 2 innings, and in which Seth Martinez got lit up a little bit. But it was just at the point where I think the bullpen was being used a little bit too much. But I think Framber Valdez went 5 innings. Then you had Christian Javier go 5 innings. Jose Urquidy went only 4 innings. And then you had Garcia today only go 5 innings. Part of it was the fact that these guys participated somewhat irregularly in the World Baseball Classic, so they weren't able to get their pitch count up. I know Jose Urquidy was definitely affected by that. So I think that's what's going on, but I'm not too worried about it right now. It was just their first start. It's a small sample size. We'll see what Hunter Brown does on Monday, and maybe he goes 6 innings. But at the same time, he missed his last start, so I don't know how deep he can actually go into the game. So I think we'll have to see. I mean, I think that Brown could definitely go 5 innings if he's effective, and there's no reason to think that he wouldn't be effective after his last start. But I think that to get somebody to really eat up some innings, I think it's going to fall on Framber Valdez, who's going to pitch on Tuesday, and then Christian Javier, who's going to pitch on Wednesday. And so that's basically the pitching lineup for the next series against the Tigers. And so I think that that's where you're going to see the guys kind of get settled in. Just imagine the all the adrenaline and all the excitement of getting the rings, and then you have to go out and pitch a ball game, get a hits. The Astros did win game 2. They did win game 3, but then they fell flat in game 4. It just didn't look like the Astros were ever really in today's game. Luis Garcia pitched okay, but he just wasn't the same dominant guy we thought we were going to see. And so I think Jose Urquidy threw too many strikes. He gave up I think he gave up 2 home runs off the top of my head. But I think overall, I'm not worried. It's not time to like panic mode or anything like that. It just, they really need to, he gave up 2 home runs in 4 innings. He allowed 7 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk. So, but on Ronel Blanco, did pitch 2 innings in relief of him and didn't allow any hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. And Ryan Stanek, remember at the end of the season and in the playoffs, we didn't see a lot of Ryan Stanek, but we saw him in that game. And also Dusty Baker tried to stretch out Hector Neris because Ryan Presley was apparently under the weather, and that's why he did not pitch in Friday or Saturday, and they couldn't use him today in Sunday's game because there wasn't a save situation. So I wonder if he was kind of sick on opening day. That's why he didn't pitch that well, but we'll see. But just kind of looking like overall, it's hard to read too much into what the Astros have done. They're going to hit better. They're going to pitch better. The bullpen has basically, for the most part, outside of today's game, has done what they're supposed to do. I guess you can look at opening day and say that Ryan Presley needs to do better, but he was in a non-save situation. So just looking overall, I think that the Astros probably should have addressed their depth in offseason, maybe kept Aledmys Diaz, maybe gone out and tried to get somebody else, but it is what it is. So let me see if there's anything else going on here. No, Darby, I don't think you saw Brett today he didn't go to the game today. I was at the game today. But I was not at the home plate club. But it's too early to panic. A little worried with the SP performance, but Verlander's already getting injured. So hopefully by May they'll work the stuff out. Yes, I think that's fine. Pete says, not a bad weekend. Just wait till we get Altuve and Brantley back. And that's exactly it. The Astros just got to figure something out. You got to get more production from Bregman. That's the bottom line. And he's going to be the first one to tell you, I've got to be better. But the Astros have got to make better decisions about who plays center field, who plays second base. And because you can't keep on, I know Debon got a hit today. He's batting 143. Jolks had a good first game and second game, but he's batting 167. It's just after McCormick, when he plays, the bottom of the lineup is just not doing well. And it's just until you get that consistent production, it's going to be hit or miss with the lineup. So you're going to score some, you're not going to score some. So just got to wait till some of your guys get healthy, and hopefully it's going to start with Brantley when he comes back. But we did get some good reports there, and we'll see what happens. So let's see. McCormick isn't good. Well, Mark says McCormick isn't good. There's a reason why he's still platooning. Yeah, we understand that, but he's better than Jake Myers. I think what the Astros are trying to do is see what Jake Myers can do, and he had a good spring, so they're trying to give him a chance. So we'll talk about some more of this stuff. Hopefully, we'll be talking about Hunter Brown pitching 6 innings tomorrow, the Astros scoring 5 to 6 runs, and we have a little bit better game. But overall, 2-2 record. I know the Rangers swept the Phillies and all that, but I'm not worried about it. It's a long season. Didn't the Mariners win the first half of the season, then fall short a couple seasons ago? So I'm not worried about it. I think that we'll be fine, but it's just the strikeouts are the only thing that concerns me at this point, and the pitchers not going deep into games. That's the only thing that's concerning me at the moment. The lineup is what it is until you get your big guys back. So that's all we got for this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. Brett and I will be back tomorrow, and we'll be talking about the Detroit Tigers games, hopefully a better result. But thank you for making us your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Go and make sure you subscribe to us. Go and give us a big fat thumbs up. And also make sure you subscribe to us on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you check out your podcasts. Make us your first listen. And thank you to all the people this weekend that have stopped me or Brett and say, we love your podcast. And we had people that drove all the way from Dallas to Austin to watch the Astros. And they're like, yeah, we listened to your podcast all the way down here. So guys, thank you for making us your first listen, and y'all are awesome. And we'll see you tomorrow, and go Astros.